Hey girls, it's Angie and Nick, and today I am filming my birth story. My mother-in-law was supposed to come over today, and then plans changed, so she's going to have to reschedule for another day. And so I figured this would be the perfect time for me to do my birth story. So Nick is taking a little bit of a nap. He is being a little stink today, so we'll see. So anyways, I guess I'll go ahead and just get started. It was Tuesday, which was the 17th of July, and a couple days prior, when I woke up from being asleep, I would stand up and I'd feel like a gush of fluid. It was no more than probably not even an ounce, I don't think. But it was clear, it was watery, and it was from when I would wake up and then stand up and then it would come out. So, the couple days prior to the 17th, I had told my mom that I thought that my water had broken, but I guess it hadn't. And she said, "Well, what do you mean your water broke?" And I said, "Well, I don't think it, or what do you think, what do you mean you think your water broke?" And I told her, about the gush of fluid that I had, and that it hadn't happened the rest of the day, but it did happen when I woke up a couple of days in a row. And so she said for me to call my best friend Jamie, who is a labor and delivery nurse, and to ask her what she thinks it is because that didn't sound normal. So I called Jamie, and this was on the 16th. And she said, I really think that you need to get checked out and just see, you know, um, if it is or, it doesn't, I don't know if you could have a leak. So I went, I decided not to go to the hospital or anything because I wasn't feeling bad or anything like that. And she said, if it happens again, I've got, she brought home gloves and stuff at home just in case something happened. She lives right down the street. So she said, I could come over and take a look at you if you don't care and see if it is a leak or see if what I think it is. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So the next day, which was the 17th, I woke up, I was getting ready for work, had on my work clothes, making my breakfast, and it happened again. Um, Again, it was clear, it was watery, it was, I mean, it almost felt like I peed, but I didn't pee. So, anyway, she came, I told her about it, so she came on over. She checked me, and I was 4 centimeters dilated, and she said my bag of water was bulging. From there, I had an appointment with the doctor the next day to get my membrane stripped, but she does it too. So she went ahead and stripped my membranes then, and since she was in there anyway, and advised me that I needed to go and get checked out to make sure that I didn't have a leak that was higher up that she just didn't see. So I went to the hospital, which is where I work. I went upstairs before my shift and had them check me out. In the meantime, after I had my membrane stripped, I started having contractions, like pretty good contractions. I was having them like every 2 minutes. Drove myself to the hospital, realized I was out of gas when I mean, I could make it to work, but I knew that I kind of had a feeling that I was in labor and that I wouldn't be driving home. And so I knew that my car would have the gas light on and someone would have to drive it, or, either way. So I stopped by a gas station on my way to the hospital and filled up my gas tank, all the while having contractions. Um, Went to the women's evaluation unit, which is like an ER for pregnant people. So I went in there. From there, the doctor checked me and then also looked at the fluid that was in, I guess, my cervix or wherever it was. Anyway, looked at the fluid underneath the microscope and determined that it was not my membranes that had ruptured or my water did not break. However, at that point, I was having really good contractions every 2 minutes, and I had dilated from a 1 centimeter to a 4 centimeter in less than a week. So she was pretty confident that I was going to be having this baby. So she went and talked to my doctor. In the meantime, I called Ryan on the way to the hospital to let him know that I was heading into the hospital and that I was going to let him know, but not to leave work and not to do anything. Called my mom and told her the same thing. Um, so, anyways, I put my phone on silent because I was, with the doctor and I didn't want my phone going crazy. I look at my phone and I've got like 12 missed calls. So half of them are from Ryan, half of them are from my mom. So I called my mom back first because I figured Ryan's at work. I called my mom back first and she was like, "Oh my gosh, did you have the baby? Did you have the baby?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't have the baby. I've only been here for like 2 hours. It just seemed like everything kind of went slow motion, but like time went by kind of fast because before I knew it, it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, so they had me on the monitor and everything. I called Ryan after they came and checked me, and the OB talked to the OB that was on call, talked to my OB, who was okay with them keeping me and then rupturing my membranes. So they didn't have to induce me. They augmented my labor, which I guess I was in labor, but not like a heavy labor yet. So they just kind of sped that along. Um, anyways, they admitted me to labor and delivery. I called my husband and let him know that he was going to be a dad that day, and he was already at home, and it was just kind of weird because I was like, "I told you not to leave," and he's like, "I knew that you'd be having this baby if you called me and told me you were on the way to the hospital." So I went. I had everything packed in the baby's room. I had my bags packed. I had my makeup packed. Like I packed all that stuff before, but then like the last minute stuff I threw in there before I left the house because I thought, knowing my luck, like I'm not gonna put it in my car because if I do that, then they're gonna send me home and it's not really gonna be. I'm not gonna be in labor. But if they, I'm gonna get it ready because Ryan's gonna have no idea what to get. So he meets me up at the hospital. They were telling me they could go ahead and break my water and give me my epidural if I wanted it. But I decided to hold off and wait until Ryan got there. So Ryan got there about, I guess it was probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:30 ish. And then my mom was gonna leave, and she said they'd be up there around 5:30 or 6. So all the while I'm laboring, they Ryan got there. They broke my water, which was an experience in itself. Um, all I have to say is, if you think your water has broken, but you're not sure, then it hasn't broken because you will definitely be sure that it has. It felt like I was peeing on myself every 5 seconds. Every time I moved, there was like huge gushes of fluid. I know this is TMI, but I went through a ton of towels, probably like 8 or 9 towels, and just, I mean, leaking everywhere. So um, now that I know what that feels like, I know that before wasn't my water breaking. So I went, Jamie, my best friend, called and they actually needed another nurse that night. So they let her come in and be my nurse, which was amazing. So I labored for a while. I got to 4 centimeters and I was having some good contractions. They had started me on Pitocin to speed things up a little bit and give me some more adequate contractions. Um, the thing with Pitocin is in between, it gives you stronger contractions, but in between contractions, you don't get a break like you do if you were doing like a natural birth. I maybe got like 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 30 at the max, of a break in between each contraction. I got to about a 4 centimeters dilated. I was having some good contractions. And then I decided that I was going to get an epidural because it was kind of, I knew that I was going to get an epidural anyways, pretty much. I wasn't totally against it, but I just kind of wanted to see what a good labor felt like. So I was at a 4. I realized I was totally fine with getting my epidural. So the anesthesiologist came in, gave me my epidural. Things were fabulous, and I kind of got a chance to rest a little bit. About 20 minutes later, all of a sudden I started feeling these contractions again. They felt the same as what they'd felt before, but I had thought maybe I was supposed to be feeling that in, I don't know, that maybe I was more dilated and that's why it felt like it did before, but it would have felt stronger had I not had an epidural. So, um, my family came up while I was in labor. My mom, my dad, my brothers, and then my great great grandma. She's 96. And they all came up to the hospital and they were kind of sitting in the room. And so they give you this button when you get your epidural and you press it for like a little extra boost of pain relief if it gets a little more. So the OB or the anesthesiologist told me don't let it get to pain. If you start feeling a little bit of pressure, if you start feeling a little bit of discomfort, go ahead and press the button. Well, Jamie noticed that I had been pressing the button a lot. And she's like, you cannot be keeping on pressing that button or you're not even going to be able to push. And I was like, yeah, but I feel all these contractions. And so I wasn't looking at the monitor and I told her, I was like, okay, I'm having one. Okay, I'm having one. Here's the peak. Okay, now it's easing up. And she's like, you shouldn't be able to feel any of that. And I'm like, I do feel all that. So she checked me and I was at like a six, a five or a six. Um, and then so she called to get a redose done. So an anesthesiologist came in, it was a different one this time, and gave me a redose of medicine through my epidural. He was not in the best mood and he was not very nice. I'm more of a person that's very internal and let I don't let like I wasn't rolling around the bed or screaming or anything. I just kind of like looked out the window and closed my eyes and stuff like that because I just am very more internal when it comes to pain. So um, my cousin actually came up, and then my brothers were in the room and stuff too. And I guess they were all joking and laughing and stuff like that, and Ryan was too. And so I guess he thought that I wasn't in any pain because I was laughing, which I wasn't laughing. It was the people in my room that were laughing, but neither here nor there. So he redosed me. He left. I told, when Jamie came back in, I'm like, I can still feel all these contractions. I can still feel them. And so, anyway, she called and got somebody else to come in and look at my epidural. They determined that my epidural had floated out of the right space or something, and that it wasn't even working. By then, my contractions were getting very intense, so intense that they almost took my breath away. I was at like 6 centimeters dilated, and I was having contractions like I was only getting like 15 to 30 seconds in between each contraction, and they were getting very strong. Um, and so they called another anesthesiologist in. They were very busy that night, so it was just kind of like whoever could come came. And they gave me a different epidural, so I had to get two epidurals. So they put in my second epidural and did like a different type of epidural, and it worked, and it was fabulous. So then the doctor came in about 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night ish, kind of, and checked me. I was at a 7, and she said she would wait until 10:30 and she'd come and check me again. So it was 10:30. I tried to take a nap and tried to rest and stuff, but it was just really hard because I was really excited that I was in labor. And also, I was a little bit worried because I felt like my family was there and my grandma was there. And I was worried that it was getting really late and they were probably really tired. And although they said for me not to worry about that and that they were fine, I just kept worrying about it for some reason. So around 10:30, the doctor came in again and checked me. I was still at a 7. She said she'd give me till midnight and check me again, midnight or 1:30. Came in about 1, still at a 7. Um, he was still at, so they have stations. So like there's a +2, there's actually a +3, +2, +1, 0, 1, 2, and then 3, the heads coming out. So I was at a +2. So he was still really high up. He wasn't coming down. I was dilating efficiently. I was having efficient contractions, but he wasn't coming down. Um, So about 1:30, she came in and checked me again, and she said that, we know this is a large baby. We anticipated this. Um, you're dilating great, but he's not coming down. And we think it's just because he's too big and he's not going to come down anyway. Um, your water's been broken now for 14 hours, and we need to, I think the safest way to let him come out is through by cesarean section. Um, she said, although this doesn't mean that for your next births that you can't have them vaginally, because you can, but he is just big, and we kind of expected this, which was fine. At that point, she said she was going to give me till the last. She was going to book an OR for me, but there were two people getting cesarean sections before me, and so it would probably be around 3 o'clock in the morning that she would be able to do it. And she would check me right before we went in. And if I had dilated, if I was not at a 9 and ready to push, that they were going to go ahead and do the section. So about 3 o'clock, I was really scared. That's all I remember. I tried to take a nap, and I did kind of nap, but it was more like a very light sleep. I could hear everything that was going on. And like my family went out to the waiting room and everything, and I was in there by myself with the lights turned off and stuff. But I could just, I was aware of everything that was going on type thing. But I was just trying to like rest my eyes a little bit, I guess. But I was just really excited for Nick to be here. And then when I knew that they were going to do a C-section, I was kind of scared about that. And I was kind of worried about like Ryan and, like, I don't know. I was torn. I was very torn in between it not being the birth that I wanted it to be, and excited that he was going to be here soon. Um, so, anyways, my girlfriend still stayed. Um, she had worked. She didn't get any sleep the day before, and she was off that night, but came in extra for me, and she came in at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So this was going on 13 hours that she had been there. About 3:15 in the morning, the anesthesiologist, the mean one, was a lot nicer and came in and told me that he was going to be my anesthesiologist for the operation. So they took me down to the OR. They made Ryan wait out in like a hall or something. I don't even remember going down to the OR. That's how like out of it I feel like I was. I think it was mostly because I was just really tired and exhausted. And then also the medicine that they give you just makes you really shaky. Um, and kind of out of it too. Like they gave you a little bit of, I think they gave you Demerol or something like that. And it just kind of made me aware, but I don't know. It was just kind of a weird feeling. So, anyways, they put me over on a separate table. They gave me the numbing medicine. They checked and was like, "Do you feel this? Do you feel this?" No. But I was so scared that they weren't poking me and that I could feel it. Um, but I mean, I told Ryan, I said, I think that they're lying. I think that they're not poking me. And Ryan's like, they were poking you. He was poking you with a needle and you didn't feel it. I'm like, okay, fine. So, anyways, they had me on the table. They had my arms out to the side, and typically they like not strap your arms down, but they kind of do. And I had requested that they don't do that because I wanted to be able to like hold Nick. I don't know what I was thinking. I wanted to be able to hold him or at least touch him when he came out. And so, anyway, I had my arms out to the side. She didn't strap them down and said as long as I decided not to help her with the operation, that she'd let me keep my arms free, which was fine. So they said it took about, from the first incision, it takes about 5 minutes to get him out, and then it takes about half an hour to suture me all back up and get everything back together. So they made their incision. All the while, I'm just like shaking. I can't, it was almost like you're cold, but you're not cold, and you just can't stop shivering, is what it was. And so I was shivering and shivering and shivering, and the anesthesiologist was really nice to me, and put like some warm blankets all over me and stuff, and it didn't help. But he told me not to fight it because it makes the shivering worse, to just let it go. So Ryan came in. Before I knew it, he was at my side, and I kind of forgot about him even out in the hallway. Um, then they started making the incision, and before I knew it, the anesthesiologist tapped Ryan on the shoulder and said that if he wanted to film the birth, that he could stand up, and that they were going to be taking Nick out. And so he stood up and had the video camera, and um, they took Nick out, and I didn't see him, of course, at first because they had the sheet up, but Ryan was kind of teary and he was just telling me what a great job I had done, and then I heard him cry, and it was the best sound I've ever heard in my life. I don't know why I'm crying now, but anyway, it was the best sound I had ever heard in my whole life. And so they brought him around to past the sheet so I could see him. And I remember thinking, oh my God, he has a ton of hair, because he just had a ton of hair. And I thought it was curly because it was like matted to his head. Not matted to his head, but it was wet. And so Jamie took him over to the warmer and did his footprints and his, all that kind of stuff. And Ryan was there and got to cut his cord and everything. Um, right after they took him out and they were starting to put me back together, I started having this uncontrollable urge to vomit, um, which I guess is really common for C-sections because they're disrupting all the GI stuff as well and messing around, by your stomach and stuff like that. So I just kept vomiting, and I probably vomited for the whole 30 minutes that they were suturing me back together. So I didn't, Ryan brought Nick over to me, and I got to see his face for a few minutes. But I just felt so awful. Um, I don't know, like I was just really shaky still from the medicine and stuff, and I was just kind of not out of it. I wasn't out of it, but I was just really shaky, and I had just got done throwing up a whole bunch, and so I got to see him and I got to kiss him, and then um, I don't I don't even know what they did with him after that. Then they rolled me onto a stretcher, and then they brought me to the recovery room. I don't really remember the ride to the recovery room. It's just really weird. I remember bits and pieces. Um, and I think it's because I had been up for almost 24 hours at that point. Um, so they brought him to me in the recovery room. Maybe Ryan brought him to me. I don't know. But they brought him to me in the recovery room, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, he has so much hair. He has so much hair. Um, so my family came back. I had my mom, my dad, and my grandma come back right away so that they could see him. And he was looking around, and he was just beautiful. He was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And then after that, I sent them out. They went out to get my brothers, and he was rooting a lot. So I decided that I was going to try and breastfeed him. At this point, there was nobody there. Like there were nurses there, but it was like the recovery room. So there was like one nurse to like 5 of us, and then we were all in the same room, but we just had curtains separating us. So I thought, well, I can't really wait until somebody like tells me how to do this. So I'm just gonna try to do it. So I got him latched on, and he started eating, and it worked out good, thank goodness. Um, he he ate, and then my brothers came back and saw him too. And then from then, everybody left and went home to go to sleep. And at this point, it's probably 6:30 or 7 in the morning. Um, so then they brought us to our postpartum room, and the nursery came down and took him to bring him upstairs to the nursery. And then they were finishing up. They like gave me like a bed bath type thing, like cleaned me up real good, and then brought me upstairs. So they brought me upstairs, and my nurses, like throughout this whole thing, my doctors, everybody was so nice. And they got me into my room. They wheeled me past the nursery before they brought me to my room, and they held him up in front of the window to show me him. And at that point, he had gotten a bath and everything. So his hair was really fluffy how it is now, and he just looked so freaking adorable. I just couldn't believe it. I just could not believe that he was my baby. I just couldn't. And I often thought about what he would look like and thought about how cute he would be, and he just, if it were up to me to put him together, he couldn't have been, he wasn't even as cute as he is now. And I just couldn't believe how beautiful he was. So the next day was kind of a blur. They left my epidural in for an infusion of pain medicine for the first 24 hours, which I guess they typically do if you have an epidural in a C-section. And I just remember being really tired and falling asleep a lot. And like I would be in the middle of texting someone and drop my phone and wake up and be like, oh my God, I fell asleep during that. Um, it was just kind of crazy. It took a lot out of me. But they took my epidural out the following day and let me sit on the side of the bed and stuff like that. And I got to take a shower. And then they offered me Percocet for pain. They offered me Percocet for pain. And I didn't need anything that strong. I took the first dose because my nurse encouraged me to do that because I would be taking a shower and kind of getting up and moving that day. So to maybe take it because she didn't know how I'd do. The rest of this day, I took Motrin, and I've taken Motrin. I took Motrin a couple times when I came home, and that's been it. My recovery from the C-section has been extremely, knock on wood, easy. Um, I've felt fine. I was a little bit, the only thing I'm a little bit numb, like where my belly button is, and below that I'm numb, but that's it. I mean, it's just really not a big deal. Um, so he got here. Ooh, he got here at 3:47 in the morning on July 18th, and he is the most perfect thing ever, and I love him so much. Um, we had some difficulties with breastfeeding at first, and he was also jaundiced, but I am going to get rid into that. I think I'm going to do a breastfeeding vlog maybe today. I don't know. And then a vlog on him like his first couple weeks. But so far, that's my birth story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was not anything, it's not what I thought it would be. It wasn't that vaginal birth that I wanted and the baby right on my chest right after, but it was a really good birth. It really was. And I don't think that I will have a vaginal delivery after I've had my first C-section because I'm already, I've already experienced it and it wasn't bad. It really wasn't. And it came out with a pretty round head and he didn't have anything coned or anything like that. He was a pretty baby. So I want to just show you guys him if he doesn't wake up. Oh, that's my baby. He's got tons of hair all over. And he's a big boy. Like I said, he was born at 8 pounds 11 ounces. And he was 20 3/4 inches long. He's got really pretty mouth and he's got dimples and he's cute. He's cute. He's a chunker, but he's cute. So I hope this video wasn't too long and I hope you guys have had time to watch the whole thing. But anyway, that's all for now and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.